Here's what Adam Silver said. He's the commissioner of the NBA at his press conference about players asking to be traded from their teams.
I don't know whether he requested a trade or demanded one, but this needs to be a two-way street. Teams provide enormous security and guarantees to players, and the expectation is in return that they'll meet their end of the bargain. I'm realistic that there's always conversations that are going to go on behind closed doors between players and their representatives on teams, but we don't like to see players requesting trades, and we don't like to see it playing out the way it is.
And it feels like it's directly directed at Kevin Durant. Why is that? Well, not just because he's one of the 5 best players in the NBA over the last decade, right? It's also because he still has 4 years remaining under contract. And like there's 2 things at work here which don't work out. Okay, and obviously football has been pushing for this for a long time, for a longer term. And I will tell you, I'll say what most sports radio hosts are unwilling to say. The long NFL contracts are dumb. They're bad business for the NFL team. And you can sit here and tell me, like, well, it's not fair. It's like you play a sport where you're trying to dismember, or somebody on the other team is trying to dismember you. It's a sport where the average player lasts 4 years. It's a sport where one play literally can end your ability to walk, okay, or your ability to function properly as an athlete. Far more so than basketball. It's not the idea like we're deserving. Like, what are we deserving of? Right? You're basically playing a game of Frogger on a weekly basis. That's what you're doing. So NBA players the same. Now, they have shortened the length of the max guarantee contract, but still the point is the same. Like, you're under contract for 5 years. You wanted the security. Well, part of the security with a 5-year contract, part of the security with a 4-year contract, part of the security is those are the years you're under contract. And you can sit here and tell me, like, well, in your job, Jimmy, that's not true. You have all these people stating things which are categorically false. I cannot go and work for either of the 2 places I worked for previously. I can't just go like, hey, listen, this has been good, but I want to go do, because what they can say is, you got a non-compete. You can leave, go ahead, but you can't go work for somebody else. They can pay you. You cannot perform. That's called a non-compete. Okay? You can have, and by the way, like the coaches, but we talk about those coaches, there's no reason that a coach can't get a non-compete in their contract if it's so negotiated. It's called a negotiation. I don't want, a buyout. Well, I don't want a buyout. Or, okay, so you want a buyout? Fine. You're going to have to pay me more money. That's why there's more money in it. But you're fighting for security. You get security. Look, here's the thing. And I understand that the Nets may acquiesce and they may make a move. But are we realistic with this? The Brooklyn Nets, and they knew what they were getting into, but their first year of contract, the first year, he did not play. Go and look it up. Okay? Kevin Durant had the longest time between games for an injured player that suffered only one injury. The longest. He sat out longer than anybody else. And at any point did you hear the Brooklyn Nets go, we'd really like Kevin Durant to play. He was cleared to practice and to play in the bubble. He didn't even go to the bubble. Did you hear anybody say anything bad about him? No. You know why? Because they knew what they signed up for. They gave him a 4-year contract, okay? And then he signed a contract extension. You sign a contract extension, that's saying, I expect to be here. And you get into the last year of your deal, and look, that is the case here. That's the case everywhere. You get the last year of it, it's fine, whatever. Okay, we can talk about getting out of a deal. But 4 years remaining? But I would also point out that a good portion of this is Adam Silver. And Adam Silver goes like, well, I didn't say anything about requesting a trade. No, but for the most part, during his tenure as commissioner, and I know that behind the scenes, he doesn't necessarily operate the same way. But he works for the owners, not the players, and yet he has been completely pro player. Completely pro player. To the detriment of the league. Okay, the detriment of the league. I mean, even the nonsense about shortening the season, it's complete nonsense, complete bull. It's not happening. Do you know why? Because nobody wants to go to the players and go like, okay, listen, guys, here's the deal. We'll cut 10 games off, okay? But we're also cutting out 10 days of pay for all the people that work at arenas, all those restaurants and bars, okay? And your owner got a tax break when they built the new arena, okay? And, that's 10 days less in the arena in terms of now they got more inventory they got to fill up, the parking places, all that other stuff. And by the way, that's less games for our TV companies, so we're going to have to give back some of that money. You guys are going to all have to give back, all right, so 10 out of 82, okay? You're going to basically have to give back 1/8 of your contract. Everybody good with that? Listen, you have to give back 1/8 of your contract. No big deal, be 1/8 of your contract. How quickly would that discussion end? Right away. But this is the problem. Again, he didn't sign the contract. He didn't negotiate the CBA, right? The owners and the players, and he's just kind of the go-between or whatever. But he's allowed this energy to foster that. It's Players League. Players League. Hey, let's not call them owners. Let's call them governors. But they own the team. They pay for the thing. They own it. Like it's not owning, right? You own somebody's rights. There's no real tip of the cap to slavery when a guy's making $62 million in an upcoming guaranteed contract 5 years from now to play basketball 82 nights a year, regardless of whether he plays well or plays poorly, and most of the guys don't play 82 nights at all. But, hey, let's change the name. Let's do whatever it takes to make the players happy. Then the players say, hey, the players are never happy. They're just not. Many of them are just unhappy because their whole lives they've been told how great they are. They've been told they're special. And it doesn't mean that they're not great. It doesn't mean they're not special. But sometimes you're going to have bad times. Sometimes you're going to have a bad team. Sometimes you're going to be stuck with a coach that stinks. Sometimes management's not that good. Sometimes a player comes in fat and out of shape. Like, hey, we work through these. We deal with these things. We push through these things. You are the one. No one, and this is the difference between anyone who says there's any sort of even indentured servitude. Nobody held your hand and made you sign that paper. You don't have to. No one made Kevin Durant sign that paper. And I am, without any question, the biggest Kevin Durant fan in the history of national sports radio. He is magnificent. But and I understand Kevin Durant's stance. He's like, look, I came here to play with Kyrie. I thought we were going to get a third star. You get me James Harden. He's not in shape. You get me Ben Simmons. He doesn't even play. You fill out the rest of the roster. It doesn't work. We're too small at these wings. It just, it's not great. Like, Kyrie might play, might not play. You want to extend him? Check, please, I'm out. I understand that. Here's the problem, dude. You signed a contract. But the other problem is that how many times have we heard Adam Silver say things as if, look, it's the Players League. This is how the players want. It's the players. This is what happens. Right? Don't be surprised when little Johnny's a brat when little Johnny said jump and you said how high. Right? I can't believe that little Johnny was drawing those pictures in class. Like, what are you talking about? He's a total spoiled brat. Everybody knows that kid. And you don't do anything to reel him in. If you don't do anything to reel kids in, that's how they act. You don't do anything to reel your employees in, that's how they act. Don't be surprised.